This is Nicole Whitlock with eCom Sellers, and we are day 49 of the Print on Demand Challenge, if I got that right. Before we get started, we're going to talk about some planning for making books. So before we do that, I want to find out, have you been getting value in this class? Is this a class that you would potentially recommend to someone else at a later time? Is there anything that you feel like we could improve, change, or do differently for this class? Or is there anything we haven't covered? So I'm looking for feedback. Any feedback is accepted.
I'm actually waiting for the class, the one that you're going to do in the fall.
Okay.
Because I fell so far behind, but I am getting a lot out of.
Okay.
I just fell behind and I don't feel like I can catch up right now.
I think you can, but it's okay. You can start from whatever day, or you can start from day one and just start now. But I do appreciate that feedback. I'm glad you're getting something out of it.
It's very interesting.
Anyone else? Anything we haven't covered? Anything you feel like we need to cover? Anything we need to?
I thought it was just a lot of information.
Okay.
And to me, it was overwhelming because I never done it before. And for me, if I had never done it, I have to listen to it a couple of times to get a hang of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wish that you did do this a lot, but I thought I kind of wish that you would did more of a demonstration when but you do that. But sometimes it's like so fast, I get lost. And I feel that I'm overwhelmed. And I'm probably not. It's just that I didn't grasp it because it's new to me right away.
Okay. And that's fair. So I will make sure these last few days that we'll definitely do a few more demonstrations, and I will slow down.
Can you slow down, Nicole? No, I know you. Okay. Besides that, it is very informative, and I think that you're a very good teacher.
Well, I appreciate that. There are days when I'm not a good teacher, but I appreciate the feedback. There are days where there's stuff going on, there's too much stuff going on, and my brain is not fully plugged in. So I get it. I'm sorry. And I apologize for that.
No problem. We all go through something. So no problem at all. You're only human, and so are we.
We are only human. Ms. Cassandra, do you have any feedback you'd like to share?
Was that the only question? I missed the first tiny bit because I had to step away for a phone call just as it was connecting.
Okay. I was asking before we got started if you had any feedback to share about this class, how do you feel about the class? Is there anything you feel like we could improve about the class? And is there, anything that we haven't covered that you feel we need to cover?
I have loved all the information and the websites, seeing the different websites that you've shown us and just creating that vision. I've loved that. And I did come in with some experience, so it wasn't quite as overwhelming for me. I did feel like doing it every day was tough because I felt like anytime that I missed one, then it was hard to catch back up because we still had the meeting that day. So that part for me I felt that was tough, but I loved the information and I loved the vision that was cast through it and the ideas and thoughts I have now and knowing the websites and stuff to go to for that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that helped. And I have had a massive lesson learned from this. I will never do a 60-day everyday challenge. I might do a 60-day challenge, but we are not meeting every day.
Yes. Once or twice a week, I think would be perfect.
Yes, I think that the next time is going to be twice a week, and that's it.
Yes.
I think I've heard from Lyria, and she just got to give me the side eye. So I get it. She's not used to uploading that many videos. Like she's used to okay, at the end of the week, I upload all the videos for the week. Oh, every day, Nicole? Okay. So I feel bad about that. All right, so I'm going to warn you, this is going to feel like a lot of information, and I'm going to apologize in advance. But it is truly about a bigger picture. It's about a bigger vision. So at the beginning of this journey, we started off with our downloadables, pretty straightforward. I didn't want you to do anything complex, hard, difficult, or challenging. I wanted it to be something that you were already familiar with and you knew. Converting those downloadables into something that could actually go into a multi-page, whatever, whether it's a multi-page book, like a coloring book, or whether it is a journal or a notebook or an actual book, is completely up to you. I don't want you to be overwhelmed by it, but I know that it is a lot. So when you start on this journey of the book, I'm going to walk through the steps. I hate that this is tiny font. Just move this down. So before you get started, the first thing you have to have is your idea. So the good thing is that I actually had you all start with the idea first. I was like, what are you passionate about? What do you like? What are you interested in? Because whatever you do for the downloadables, we're going to long-term convert that into something. So I'm hoping that I set you off on the right path from jump. And then everything that you did incrementally over time, little by little, piece by piece, would help build the thing that we want at the end of the journey, which is the book in whatever form. Whether it's a photo book, recipe book, whatever it is. So you have to have the niche or the idea first. What do you want to cover? What do you want it to be? What do you want it to include? What do you want to talk about? Now, for some people, they don't know what their idea is. And so that's the reason why at the beginning, I drew that out of you. So at some later point, there may be more books that you want to create. And I always start with the end in mind. What's the result I'm trying to get? So if the result that I'm trying to get is, I've always dreamed about having a recipe book, okay, then I can go backwards and reverse engineer that and say, okay, how much information do I already have on recipes? Because there's nothing like working on a book. And let's say your book takes you 30 days. If it takes you 30 days, it takes you 30 days. If it takes you 60 days, it takes you 60 days. If it takes you 15 days, it takes you 15 days. But there's nothing like working on that and not feeling like you're making any money. And so that's why we did the downloadable and printables, because we were able to create something, put it up, and hopefully gives a little bit of change while we're building the bigger piece of it. So you have to have the idea first. That's the first thing you have to do. And if you don't have the idea, I want you to sit down and I want you to think about that. So you have to develop your plan. We're doing a plan, okay? So you have to have the idea. Then after you get the idea, you're going to have to do some research. That's going to include all kinds of research. It's going to include keyword research. It's going to include sales. It's going to be looking at your competitors. It's going to be all of that research. And you're like, I don't want to do all that. And I'm just trying to tell you, don't talk yourself out of this before you even get started. Okay. Because we're good at that. If something is too hard, then we're like, I don't want to do this. But the irony would be like, if that thing yielded you, every year you had a consistent stream of, $30,000 or $40,000 coming in just because of that thing that you invested 30 days in, it's worth it. It is, especially if you do it right. So you're going to need to do some research. You're going to go look up competitors. You're going to do some research about the topic. You're also going to have to do some research about the sales. Is this a thing that people are interested in? Is this a thing that people want to learn more about? I gave you some tools to do research. And of course, I love free tools. So if we go over to Amazon bestsellers or Amazon top 100, and we go to the category of books, we can see what people are interested in right now. What they're, what are the top 100? Whether this is our niche or not, whether this is our idea or not, this is just giving us, okay, Let's just see what's out there. So this book, I think they're coming out with a movie with that, so that makes sense. A lot of novels. Okay. I don't know if you're a novel writer. You might be. It's not Summer Without You. I don't know what that is. Is that a journal or something? All the Boys I Loved Before. Okay, another novel. Okay, so there appear to be a lot of novels for sure. Okay, Atomic Habits, always a good one. I don't know if you've ever read it. I would encourage you to get it. And let's see. Here's a book, kids. This is a kid's book for sure. My son has had that one. This is an activity book. So that is interesting that we have an activity book in here. Another kid's book. So if you're not a novel writer, don't stress. If you are a novel writer, that's fantastic. So book lovers and beach read. I don't know what that is. I'm curious now. So I don't know what this is. Evidently there's a series. It's a paperback. Oprah's Daily. So I wonder, I don't know, maybe it's some kind of life journal or something. Rom-com lovers. Okay. So it's probably a book full of short stories, maybe? Maybe that's what it is. One of my favorite authors. Okay, so it might is a rom-com lover's dream of a book. Okay, so there must be some stories in there. So that's okay. All right, that's fantastic. Emily Henry. I don't know who she is. Trust me, I don't. Okay. The wonderful things will be, I think all of us have a children's book in us. Trust me, I think we do. We just have not thought through that. So here is one that I feel is completely doable. Because why? Because this is what we're creating. So your first learn to write workbook. Well, what was the stuff at the beginning of my journey that I told you about my son? I said that we're creating some workbooks for kids. You know, kids that are in kindergarten, preschool, whatever. And we're labeling some things so that from a learning standpoint, you know, a parent can flip through that. Now, what if our amazing book was designed so that they could cut out the pages? That would be even cooler. We could do the front to back for the flashcards. That's even better. But clearly, workbooks are on the list of things that people are wanting to buy, you know, for their kids. So this one is Trace the Lines. Each one of us, this is learning to write. So they're learning to write their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, and we have ABC flashcards and 1, 2, 3 flashcards. And they're writing on lines. Because we all have been practicing, hopefully, in Canva, we could do lined paper with the lines and the dashes in the middle, you know, that 3-lined thing where there's a solid line on the top, solid line on the bottom, and the dash in the middle. And your goal is when you're writing your A, make sure the A goes the loop for the A goes all the way up to the dash and comes down to the bottom. That's what this is. So all of us have the ability to create a tool like this that kids could use. Okay. This one is another book for kids. So we're getting more into books for kids. And that one lady, evidently, she's a big one. Then How to Influence People. And that's a well-known book. And so let me just point this out. This is a well-known book. This book has been around forever. Evidently, it's still in the Amazon Top 100. People still want to buy this book. And I promise you, this book is probably 40 years old, 40 or 30 years old. This book, I have no idea how old it is, but do you think that this book gets regular action? You can unmute yourself. Regular people come in to buy every month. Somebody is buying it. Every week, somebody is buying it. Every year. So how often do you have to update this book to get recurring sales? Please unmute yourself. You can tell me.
To
be that high on the list, it's definitely getting regular sales.
It's
You're
getting
not
regular sales, yeah.
do it.
But the question is, how often do I have to update it?
Never.
Never.
You can create extras to go have more of them.
Yeah. I can design a new cover every year if I wanted to. I can say this is the 2022 edition or the 2023 edition, but I don't have to ever change it because the concepts are still the same. If you create a recipe book, you don't have to update it. You don't have to change it because it stays the same. If you're creating a devotional book, you don't ever have to update it because the scriptures don't change. So this book and other books that people will buy on a regular basis will continually get sales. I love, clothes and wall art and water bottles and t-shirts and whatever else. But the reality is those types of things people may not buy, consistently every single year. I mean, if it's a Valentine's Day shirt, they're probably ugly sweaters for Christmas, always, or the ugly t-shirts for Christmas, always. But again, I'm only wearing that once and I'm only buying it a certain time of the year. Outside of that, everything else, I got to try and push throughout the year to get recurring sales. And next year, I probably need to update the design or put up another version of it. I can't say that in 5 years, my same t-shirt is going to continue selling. Like, only thing I think that would probably continue selling is a t-shirt that said "Go Vote" or something like that, or something supporting the Olympics, because that happens like every 4 years, or every 2 years. Something happens with the Olympics, and voting is all the time. There's just peaks and valleys with, the national voting versus local and county and city and all that other stuff and state. But writing my ABCs 1, 2, 3s, people are not going to stop having kids. And kids are always going to need to learn how to write their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. So I don't ever have to update this. I don't ever have to touch it. I just have to create it. I have to invest the time to create it, put it out into the universe, and let the universe deal with it. That's it. That's all I got to do. Nothing else. No more work is needed from me. So that's why I think, when it comes to print on demand stuff, when somebody buys art, they buy it and it sticks on the wall, and there might be other people that will definitely be interested in it and probably get some great sales on it. But at some point, new art has to be created. T-shirts, same thing. Leggings, same thing. Like the trend of having multiple colors on your leggings, it'll probably go back to solids at some point. And so then people don't want all the stuff all over their legs. And so they're just like, okay, all of this stuff will be trends. But content like learning how to write, like doing devotionals, they don't change. Recipes, they don't change. You might create another version of a recipe book where, you have different versions, one for weight loss, one for, summer recipes, one for fall recipes, one for breakfast, one for lunch, one for dinner, and if there's a latest diet, like the keto diet, the carnivore diet, or whatever, you might just change it up that way. And so you just take the existing work you've already done. You don't have to do more work. You don't have to go do the research and put it all together. You take existing work you've already done and you just reorganize it and publish a new book. It's fantastic. So the effort that you put into it, you do the work once and it continues to pay you all the time. This same thing happens with t-shirts and backpacks and water bottles and all that other stuff. But I can't say that it has that longevity like a book will. Would you agree or would you not agree?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that it does. So you have an opportunity to put a book out. Clearly, there are books that stick around for a long time. This one's a preschool book. So the reason why we went after preschool books is because we saw that there were preschool books being created. They can't copyright ABC 1, 2, 3. They can't tell me I can't do that because it's part of the language. So if you talk to any lawyer, they will tell you stuff that is part of the language. You can't copyright that. But if it is unique content to you, you can copyright it. Now, can I create a trademark and put my logo on it and make things that are unique to my company, my business, or the way we want to present it. Yep. So I can do unique layouts and stuff like that. But you can't stop me from creating an ABC 1, 2, 3 workbook. You can't stop me. So that's why, that's again, whatever ideas you have in your head, always helpful. So look at this library book set. When I started working with Tony and he was doing flashcards he's done animals, he's done colors, he's done numbers, he's done letters, he's done jobs, he's done all kinds of stuff. We can create a whole bunch of low content books and then we can turn around and sell them as a bundle. So you got to have whatever your niche is, you need to start with an idea. So you're going to start by going to go do some research and conduct research about your competitors, conduct research about what people are buying, and you can do, like, you can use Google Trends, you can use some of the free tools that we've talked about this entire time. You can also set up accounts with those sites like BookVault and BookBeam and all those others, and do some research on books as well. I can tell you, educational books sell. Novels, there's people that will be interested in novels, but novels do have peaks and valleys. Like, oh, this is the latest book, and then now they've turned it into a movie, and now everybody's interested in it. It's a TV series. And then at some point, that book doesn't get any traction. But staples like, okay, Dale Carnegie, I'm telling you, that book is at least 40 years old. Somebody can go look it up. I have no idea when it was originally written. I feel like it was like 1982 or something. So that's clearly a staple. It is a thing that is not going to change with the time, or if it does, it changes mildly. It doesn't change significantly. Same thing with what is it? The Millionaire Next Door, and I'm trying to remember all the other books that people read over and over again, or they have book club groups and stuff like that. The Bible hasn't changed. Not going to change. Not going to change. So go do your research regarding your topic, your idea, your concept. You got to go do that research first. And after you do the research, you have to make a decision. You got to decide, okay, if I'm going to publish this, what am I going to publish? Am I going to publish an ebook? Am I going to do a notebook? What am I going to do? So you have to make a decision. And that decision, there's a couple of different things. One, like, is this going to become a thing that I actually want to establish my LLC, that I want to get trademarked, that I want to do copyright? Is this going to be a thing? Whether it's notebooks, workbooks, calendars, whatever. Do I want to do that from a business, setting up my business standpoint? And then I also have to make a decision on what type of book that it's going to be, and the contents that I want to put in there. If I go back to talking about the Bible, which is great, there's so many different directions in my mind that you can go, and it's endless. It doesn't ever stop for me. So I've already talked about, okay, we can start with devotionals. That's good. With scriptures, you can go with lined journals with maybe a scripture at the bottom or a scripture at the top. A nice cover. You can go and you can literally take that journal. You can break it out by genders. You can break it out by age groups. You can break it out by other people categories. And so when I say other people categories, married couples, young couples, senior couples, break it out by seniors. You can break it out by however, maybe your life groups at your church and how they meet or how they're broken out. So you can break it out by many different ways.
Where's Tony?
I don't know, Nicholas.
Where's Tony go?
He's in the other room. Okay, he was eating. So you can break it out so many different ways, and by the time you're done, you have like 30 different journals that you've created, and you could just let journals be the thing that you focus on, because people buy journals. You could do notebooks. That could be what you decide that you're going to focus on, and you could break it out by 30 different notebooks. You could do you could do devotionals, which we talked about before, and you could do workbooks. I mean, exercises of going through, just think if you created a workbook that you thought my Sunday school could really use this. And then what if it got featured somewhere or about was found somewhere and other churches started buying it and then it sells in volume? Because you've created a workbook that you can follow in your Sunday school class on a specific topic. Again, I don't know what your skill is. I don't know what your talent is. There is something that you know that the world needs to receive. And life is so short. It is so finite. And every day, God blesses us to wake up and to do something. But the question becomes, what are you doing with your something? And are you doing whatever it is that he's called you to do? And if you are, that's wonderful. Keep doing that. But if you feel like you're supposed to leave a legacy, if there's a yearning to do that, it's probably coming from him. You might want to pray about that and get some clarity and get some discernment. Because if you're supposed to do something with this, then do something with it. There's something that's in you, and it's supposed to be out there in the world. I don't care if only one person bought it. At least it exists. And maybe the sales take off at some later point, 4 years from now, because it doesn't ever need to be updated. I'm just saying. So you got to make a decision. You got to make some decisions from your business perspective. And you also have to make some decisions about, okay, what are, like jot down all your ideas. Okay. What type of books? Am I going to do paperback? Am I going to do spiral? Am I going to do hard copy? Am I going to do paper, whatever it happens to be, an ebook, flip book, whatever. Then in all of this stuff, you need to be making a note about it. Like you should have a separate section for your ideas where you jot down all your ideas. You should have a separate section for the research that you've collected and the information that you think is going to be viable. And you should have another section for the decisions that you have to make. Maybe you use a decision tree if you've never used a decision tree to kind of go through that exercise. The other thing, I'm going to put I think we talked about this at one point, was the mind map. We did. I know we did. At the beginning. This is where like a mind map where you just drop all of your ideas and they keep coming to you and keep coming to you and you don't know what to do with it, but it takes you different places and you're dropping off that information so that at some point you can come back and you can review it and make some decisions about it. That's all a mind map is. It's starting from the center of, I want to create a book, and then you have some main ideas about the book, and then those will branch off to other ideas so you don't lose whatever it is. If there's a message that's coming from the Lord, you don't lose it when you do a mind map. Okay. And it just continues to grow. And it's only for you. So if you want to make a mind map book, have at it. I have not done that yet. One day I might, but I think it's a good exercise and you can go do research on what it takes to create a mind map and all of that other stuff. But you need to do a brain dump. Okay. So let me find the mind map thing. I think I forget the one that I gave you guys. That's not it.
One of them was like a bubble or something. There was
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it was with bubbles. Visually, none of these look like it. Bubble, there's bubbles.
Yep.
There it is. So I feel this one is fairly easy to use and it's older, but you can just start dumping your ideas. But there's many other tools that are out there so that you can do this mind mapping, because before you get started, you got to think through parts of this. Now, let me just say this. This is not intended for you to get analysis paralysis. And this is not intended for you to think about it so much that you don't take any action. If you already know that you want to create workbooks, and for me, I knew we wanted to create workbooks for preschoolers. I'm going to say, what is one thing that preschoolers need? They need to know their ABCs and they need to know their 1, 2, 3s. I can do that. Start with the thing that you know. because this is, again, not intended for you to do analysis paralysis or to just paralyze yourself and you take no action. You need to take action. So after you go through your, and I'm going to put the mind map one. You can use any of these. It really doesn't deeply matter, but I think, yeah, it was bubbleless. That's just one. So I'm just going to put this here. And you can use different tools to kind of go through your idea process, blah, blah, blah. Oops, me and this mouse. And I think it was Mind Up. I feel like it was Mind Map. That might be it. Online free mind mapping. Okay. If you don't want to use a tool, if you just want to use a piece of notebook paper, then have at it. But I don't want you to become paralyzed. You do have to make some decisions on whether or not you're just doing this to test it out, or whether or not you're doing this and you have a long-term vision. Is this just I'm just going to test it, or do you have a vision? Okay. And that it's going to become something much bigger. Now that you got a decision, then you just need to choose one thing and start. One and start. Now that sounds simple, but I just gave you my example of the flashcards. I was like, at the end of the day, I can't go wrong with having them start on flashcards. We can use them later. It doesn't matter. I can use them later. So you got to choose one thing and then start. Once you choose the one thing, now you're going to begin building that, and you can begin building it in whatever tool you want. For me, we build it in Canva. And so as we go through and we build it in Canva, you're going to have more decisions you have to make, but oops, we started with Canva. And there's going to be some stuff that you have to figure out. You're going to have to figure out the design and the layout. And if this is not your forte, again, going back to what you learned from the competitors, go back to your notes. You know, flip through the book. When I decided we were going to go down the planner and journal path outside of the workbook, I run multiple businesses. So one side of my business is what the stuff that I have my son doing, and the other side is my eCom seller side. So on the eCom seller side, I decided we were going to do journals and planners and all of that stuff. So we had to go through and we had to do some mock-ups for the layout. We had to figure out the cover and we had to figure out the design. So I'm going to write this out. Mock-up. Yeah, do a cover. You can figure out if you want to do the cover or you want someone else to do the cover. You got to figure out how many pages. There's a few different things that you got to do to figure out the pages. And then, you got to figure out the content. So I'm going to log into way early, prematurely, but that's okay. I know I have 9,000 windows open up at the top. So we are working on, just so you guys know, we have 8 planners coming out, 90-day planners. 9 of them, actually, not 8. Sort of a big deal. The planners. My son's been working, as you can tell. And these are, this is our planners. Yep. Did I lose somebody? Something happened? Yeah. Okay. Raise your hand. You raise your hand? You have a question? No. All right. So
Nicole, I thought I was going to just give you applause for having so many planners, but it's the wrong thing. Sorry.
Okay. So we do have, 9 90-day planners coming out. If the Lord says the same, they will be published between the September and next March. We will probably have at least 3 or 4 of them done, and one in September, one live in September, October, November, and December, and then the next one will be January, February, March. in the rest of the time. So we'll at least have 4 to 5 of them this year alone. But we're doing a 90-day planner for Amazon, eBay, a 90-day planner for eBay, a 90-day planner for Shopify, a 90-day planner for Amazon, for Walmart. We're doing a 90-day planner for each one of them. And with our 90-day planners, we're actually going through and giving the person what they need to do every single day in their business for 90 days. So they literally are buying the planner. They're going to open it up and it's going to give them instructions on what they need to do every single day. And in their business. So day one will be, create your account. So we'll have the navigation to go create your account. And we'll also have, some other action items that they need to do. So every day has instructions. This is a 90-day planner. And we're also updating our 2023 eCom planner, the big one. And our 2023 calendar. And we're also working on an eCom marketing planner as well. So we got a lot of stuff going on. But in any case, we have this cheesy picture right here, which more than likely will change. But each one of the planner covers has is tailored to each one of the platform colors. So Amazon is gold and black. We have a cover that's gold and black. The Macari is purplish, I think. We have a color for that. So each one of them is tailored to the platform that we're going to be selling them on, or that we're going to be covering. And that was a strategic decision. But again, when I go back to what I'm saying, you got to make some decisions. If you have a vision, when you're doing either the mind mapping or when you're doing your research, make sure you're writing down the vision that you have for whatever it is you want to roll out, whatever it is you want to sell, whatever it is you want to create. So we have literally been working on this project for, outside of having COVID, we've been working on this project, I feel like, for 2 years, but it's not really been 2 years, but it's been a long time. And it's been a lot of work to do this because you have to know what the action steps are. Now, will this book ever have to be updated? Well, of course, Amazon is going to have changes. So what we'll have to do is we'll have a first edition, second edition, third edition for each time that Amazon comes out and makes massive changes that are not applicable. But there's things that are basic things that any seller can do if they're selling on Amazon or Etsy or whatever platform. That's going to be the same. It's not going to change. So those basic things that are not going to change, I'm going the wrong direction, clearly, I think. Yeah, I'm going the wrong direction. Let me find out where my thing is because we sell a lot of crap. But this is in the 90, this is in the do not use. Okay. So when I say, let me go back to what I'm telling you that you need to do. The first thing that you need to do is you need to have whatever your idea is. And that may make you sit down and do a massive brain dump. And it's okay. Just do the brain dump and walk away. You may have to come back to it a week later, fill in some more stuff and walk away. Okay. I don't want anybody to be overwhelmed. Right now, we're all overwhelmed with everything. But once you actually nail down one thing, you're like, okay, my absolute vision for me was that I knew that we were going to create workbooks for preschoolers, period. In the discussion, that was what I was going to do. On the eCom seller side, I knew that I wanted to create planners because I knew that that was the one area that nobody is touching, that nobody's doing anything with, because I don't know why they're not. But if you want to be an e-commerce seller, you got to figure out, or you got to have a roadmap on how to get started and to stay focused and help you to stay on track. So I went after the planner first. And then before I even went after the big planner, I already knew I wanted to create all the 90-day planners. So it was part of my mind map. It was part of my brain dump. And I knew that from the jump. So then I started doing research. I went to go see, did any of these products that I had in mind exist in the universe? The answer is no. Did anyone else, had anybody else put anything out? The answer was no. Do I have a lot of competition? I don't have a lot of competition. The only competition I have is for Amazon training, like booksellers, people that are teaching you how to sell on Amazon. Amy's coming out with a book on how to sell on Amazon. Becky came out with 2 books. This is her second book. She did the Drive at 5, and then she's got the current Cracking the Code. Again, those are books, but it's not a workbook that somebody can use. So for me, I was like, I need something that somebody can actually write in and do something with, so that they can actually make some progress. And it will actually move the needle in their business if they step through it. Yeah, I could step through the book and make some progress with that. But if I had a notebook or a workbook that went with the book, that would be even better. Because now, just think about this as a seller, because you probably have an idea where if you sold the book and then you sold the workbook that went with it, how much more in sales could you get? How much bigger of a margin could you have? It's crazy. So for me, I was like, I need to create the workbook to go with the book, so that way those two can be sold together. And then people can buy the book and the workbook and work together. So that's what I decided to do. Nobody else is doing it. So when my stuff comes out, they'll be like, oh, okay. No, because I'm not copying anybody else. I had my idea a long time ago. And we also have 2 unpublished books that we're supposed to have published by now, but that's my fault. So once you start the process, you know what you want to be in the book. Going back to the list, I had to make some decisions. I had to do some research on the keywords, know what the topic is, go do some research on sales. So for my sales research, I did my research based off of the selling of planners. I did the selling based off of stats around workbooks. I went out there and looked for any other 90-day guides of any type to see what the sales were, to see what they were doing 90-day guides on. And there's a few of them that are amazing. And then I bought them so that I could look at them, so I can get an idea of how they laid out the pages and how they laid out the content and the flow of the content, what it looked like, how big was the text, what, if it was color text or if it's not color text, what other things did they include? Like, I went and did a bunch of research. Then after I did that research, actually, we had already gone through the trademark part. I decided that, okay, first of all, I learned the hard way. If you're going to start a business, make sure you own the name. So we got trademarked. We made sure we had all the domains. We got our, we already had our LLC. We had that first. And then we went through the trademark process. And then we got our copyrights. Every time that we publish or get ready to publish something, we send it to the attorney so she can draw up the copyright stuff. So the attorney that we use is the same attorney we got for our trademark through Amazon. And again, can you do this on your own? Absolutely. You can do the trademark on your own. You can do the copyright on your own. I'm not trying to overwhelm you. I'm just talking you through the process. You can come back and listen to this later on, a year from now when you're ready, or 6 months from now when you're ready. But I will say this, if you do the trademark, I still want to encourage you, I don't care if you're selling on Amazon or not, that you do it through the Amazon IP Accelerator program. They clearly have a fast track process. And my business partner, who owns her own business, she was furious that I got my trademark before hers. It took her almost 18 months to get hers. It took me less than 6 months. I was registered in, I think, 4 months. Not 4 months, sorry. I was registered in like 6 to 8 weeks. And then I got my, forget what the thing is, before 6 months. And she was like, you make me sick. I understand. I'm just telling you. So it does cost you. It's going to cost you anywhere from $1,000 to $1,400 based on my numbers at that time. Inflation may have changed those numbers. And then for copyright, I think the copyright was anywhere from $250 to $400 or something. Again, something you could do on your own. I just was like, I don't have that kind of time and I don't want to screw this up, because if this becomes something big, when I leave this earth, when I leave the world, will people still be able to buy my 90-day planners? The answer is yes. If they're undated, you can still use them. the planner, the big one, the annual planner, is dated. So somebody's going to have to update that. If I leave this earth, somebody's going to have to update it every single year. And that's something I had to think through. So that's why I made the transition. I'm still going to continue to produce the eCom planner every single year, but I made the transition to move to something that was undated. So if I leave this universe, it can continue to go on without me. Will somebody come in and update a page or two? Maybe, because the way that we're laying it out, you shouldn't have to make drastic changes to it. You should just have to maybe update 2 or 3 paragraphs and it still holds, it's still good, no matter what. So that's why we think through this before we get started. So you go through that and you figure out what it is that you want to do. And you need to decide, is this something that I'm trying out, or am I actually building something versus building a business, building a legacy? Then after I figured that out, okay, so I decided I was going to build something, then I had to start. So I started with, for the planners, I started with the interior pages first. Hadn't figured out the cover, hadn't figured out any of that. We just started with the interior pages. And then from the interior pages, while I was thinking about the interior pages, I submitted a work order to the company called Floxy. And I said, I need 90-day covers. I need them to be, the colors be the same as the platform that I'm talking about. They asked me what words I wanted on the front. I didn't know what else to put to say other than say 90-day planner, 90-day Amazon planner, 90-day eBay planner. Because again, long tail keywords, if somebody's looking for an Amazon planner, I've already got the keywords, right? If somebody's got looking for the eBay planner, I already got the keywords. If somebody's looking for a Macari planner, I've already got the keywords. I literally went after every single platform that I could think of that were the major platforms. And I worked on a planner for that. Some of the newer ones like Whatnot and Shop and Comment Sold and all that, I don't know how long those will be around, but Amazon's been around for a while. So I went after the ones that have been around for a while. Okay. And then as we started building it, I had to think about the interior pages. And I, got the orders back. I had them tweak the covers. I didn't like them. We're still going to tweak the covers because I don't like the eBay cover at all. But I do like the others. I think the others are really good. But that is what we started. So I'm literally revealing in this class my whole project. I do a lot of stuff in the background. So we have multiple versions of the Amazon. This one's the Shopify. This is the Etsy. And again, they look cheesy. We're going to, clean them up. But then we have Walmart. And again, they're undated. Facebook Marketplace for Facebook sellers. And we're going to include in the Facebook one, we're going to include Facebook shops. Then Macari, Poshmark. What's eBay again? That's a non-specified platform. So we have the non-specified platform one, and I can't remember what else we have. But you got to go through and you have to go through this exercise. And this exercise may take a little bit of time. But you're going to get to a place where you're actually building this out. So this is our 90-day planner. Ignore the cover for right now, but it's undated. We have our ISBN already. We have, they can write in who it belongs to. They've got an overview, but we're actually going to move this around because I got to put a welcome here and then information about the platform. So we're going to have 4 pages. She took 1 page. She took 2 pages out. Anyway, there's going to be a welcome and then 2 additional pages that are platform specific. And then after that happens, we go into, for the next 90 days, establishing your 5 goals, why these goals, your 5 actions that you're going to take towards those goals, brainstorming, doing your vision. Now you have your little checkbox so that you can check off as you go through each day because you're doing 90 days. Your first month, then your first week. These 2 are going to be split up. This is day 1. And so we're tracking for this. And this is eBay. If I can get my mouse. Come on, mouse. I had a delayed response. Just a second. So Poonam does not like me to be in here because I sometimes screw stuff up. I don't mean to. It's just me and my mouse don't work with each other. We're always in the fight with each other. But in any case, right up here, this section, these are not going to be lines. This is where we're actually going to write out what they're going to do, the 3 things or the 5 things they're going to do today. It's just a placeholder. But it has a daily schedule that starts with the hours of the day. It's undated. They can put the time. So we literally thought through the aesthetics of the page. All of this is not accidental. It's intentional. And so that's why I'm saying you have to think through this before you get started. And then you got to try it out. And so what I did was for the first planner, we actually sent it over to some people to look at it and to get some feedback. So I had like a beta group that reviewed it, gave us feedback. We made adjustments. Then we had did another round, got us feedback, made adjustments. Then we printed the book and shipped it out to about 4 different people. They went through, they actually wrote in the book, kind of get the look and feel. How does this flow? Because this is a book I want you to use. I want you to work in it. So whatever your product is, you're going to do some things like that. Maybe, depends, because this is new territory for me. If I was doing a recipe book, I could copy and clone a lot of the characteristics of other recipe books and maybe not do as much as I've done. If I wanted it to be a recipe book that was also a workbook, then I have to do the extra work so that the book is usable. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Does that make sense? Am I by myself? I never know when I'm by myself. Anyway, if I'm by myself, that's fine. And then we put in here places for them to check off for the day, their activities that they're doing. And then as a potentially new seller, tracking all the pertinent stuff that matters if you're selling on eBay. They have a little place for thoughts, and then they also have a place where they can write their habit tracker, and they can put their habit tracker in there. So all of this was intentional. And that's the reason why when I go back to the little list, you have to think through the design and you have to think through the mock-up. Then after you do that, you might have to get samples. And after you get samples, you've got pricing that you have to think about. So first, before that, a printing partner. Somewhere in the middle of this, before you get samples, you got to get your printing partner. You have to make a decision on your printing partner, and you got to make a decision on pricing. Then you want to get some samples. Then after you get some samples, you're going to have to figure out what your marketing strategy is going to be, how you're going to present it, how you're going to launch it, how you're going to share it. Maybe you're not going to do anything elaborate. Maybe you're just going to put it on KDP and let it do whatever it's going to do. And whatever happens, happens. That's fantastic. But if you're going to actually do a launch, then, you're going to need a website, you're going to need emails, whatever. So you're going to either do, marketing or no marketing. So you're going to either list it on, public marketplace versus your own website versus, do I want this thing to be in stores? Recipe books are fantastic to sell in Barnes and Noble and other bookstores, online bookstores and physical bookstores. So is your product going to need to go into other stores? Okay. Then that's retail. And you have to think through that. Is that something that you're going to do? Is that going to be something you're not going to do? Is it just that you're going to put it on public marketplace, or you're just going to not do that? If you're going to do a website, then there might be some work that's required. So if you're going to do a website, you're going to have to do some marketing, email, and video, and whatever else. So you're going to have to do some marketing. You're going to well, you have to develop the site. You have to build the site, and then after you build the site, you have to do some marketing or advertising, and then after you do some marketing and ads, you have to make sure it's a site where you can check out and people can pay. And then you're going to have to make sure that you have a process for customer service and shipping. What questions can I answer so far? Because I'm going to stop talking here in a second. Okay. If you're going to do retail, you're going to have to research the process. Now, at this point, I'm probably paralyzed somebody on this call. I'm not trying to do that. I just want you to know that it is a journey, but it is ultimately, at the end of the day, it is worth it. It's worth it. Because go ahead.
A really quick question that's sort of on topic. You mentioned that you already had your ISBN number. Like I said, I've only done the KDP where you can get an ISBN number through them.
Yep.
How do you do that? Like through Lulu, do you have to purchase one, or do they have an offer on there to get one?
They give it to you. Most of the platforms will give you one if you're going to publish or you're going to create books with them or publish with them. You can also go buy ISBNs, so you can literally you can go to I think it's isbn.com, and I think they have a pretty good price. It's been a while since I looked at it. None of these look like the one that I went to. Anyway, wherever I went, I bought 10 ISBNs. So you can buy them, or as you publish with them, the platform like Lulu allows you to do that. Ingram Spark does that. KDP, of course, does that. They will give you an ISBN.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Okay. So, what questions, because I think I laid out like the majority of the big steps, the big pieces, and there's always going to be sub steps underneath the big pieces. But if you have a vision, whatever that vision is, you can make it happen. It can become something. But Cassandra and Charlotte could be $1 million sellers by next year. The state of everything that's going on, like everybody, we all need to get a little closer to the Lord. All of us, no matter the age or the size. And the way that they decide they're similar, but not the same. And there's still space for both of them to launch their own thing, but they could be $1 million sellers next year if they sit down, plan it out, and they're very strategic about it. Miss Hazel, recipes. People love ideas around family recipes. And so, again, taking all of your family recipes and breaking it up into a book series. You can publish the first one and have it have 50 recipes, and the next one 50 recipes, and the next one 50 recipes, or you can put them all in one big giant book. You can decide how you want to do it. But it's an opportunity. It's just all in how you lay it out and then how you execute it. So you are going to have to put together a plan, a project plan. We have like a timeline. So a project plan. And then the same thing for you, Miss Teresa, like your idea of the smoothies. Like you can run the gamut. You're definitely going to make a lot of, like if you work right now, by the beginning of the year, I mean, your sales are going to be ridiculous over December, January, February, because everybody's going to be working to lose weight. Technically, losing weight is a year-round thing, but for some people, there's a window. So my point is, everybody on here has the opportunity to make a lot of money because the niches that you're selling in or that you've looked at, and that may not be where you stay, is already has a proven track record. I'm the odd man out. I am. You're not. My niche does not have a proven track record when it comes to e-commerce planners. Planners make a lot of money. E-commerce planners haven't been proven to make a lot of money. So I'm a trailblazer in this particular area because this does not exist at all. So we'll see how it goes. And it may take a couple of years before mine really takes off. But my point is, whatever you create, whether it be devotionals, whether it be recipes, these are things you will never have to touch again. And all of you are in proven markets. All of you. You just have to do the work. So you have to decide, maybe you decide that you're going to work 1 day a week for 2 hours and whittle away at your project list. At the beginning, it's going to feel like you're never going to get up that hill. You're never going to get up that mountain, and it's going to feel like that. But eventually, you're going to get to the halfway mark, and then you're going to get to the finish line. You'll be like, whoa. And then you're going to start getting sales. And I'm going to celebrate you, even if I've only gotten 2 sales at this point, because I'm clearly going into something that doesn't exist. And that's not recommended. I'm just going to tell you that. It is not recommended to be a trailblazer. So we're going to see how it goes. So what questions can I answer? What thoughts do you have?
I just want to say thank you for continuing to harp on the schedule part of things. Like I told you towards the beginning of the week, I sat down for this week and I'm working on 30-minute throughout the day schedule. And it has helped me to be so much more intentional with my time. And I am currently hitting publish on my 4th listing in the last 2 days. So
woo! Yes.
Thank you.
I tell people that the schedule, people do not see the importance of it. And I'm like, it will change your life because it will actually cause you to make progress. You're just intentional. That's what happens with, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. We can say we're going to do stuff all day long. I can sit here and say I'm going to lose weight. But if I don't put together a game plan to lose weight, I'm not going to lose any weight. That's just the fact. It's just a fact. So it's not going to happen. All right. Well, I want you guys to take this and to use it to your benefit and to think about your book journey. I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I know that you are. So I don't know, have a glass of wine tonight. Go design something on Canva and keep working through your idea, your concept. All of you, if you do research on the specific niche that you're in, it is $1 million industry, each one of you. It is. So you already have $1 million idea. All you have to do is execute. That's it. If you execute, and you execute well, you'll do fine. You'll do fine. So with that, I'm going to say we're done for today. I'll recap this tomorrow, but I'm not going to go in great detail like I did right now. And I just want you to think about your idea, your concept, and where you're going with yours. And let's see what we can do to make it happen. All right. So tomorrow we're going to recap this and then we're going to actually get into laying out some of this stuff. Okay. We'll say good night for now.
Good night, Nicole.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.